The Saharan African nation of Chad broke off relations with Israel back in 1972, and just last year, after a 50-year freeze, reestablished full diplomatic relations with Jerusalem. Even before that, though, ties between the nations began warming, with a visit to Israel in 2018 by the late Chadian leader, President Idris Deby, with Prime Minister Netanyahu returning the honor with a visit to Chad the following year. Now come reports, not yet officially confirmed, that Chad's current leader, President Mahmoud Deby, and yes, he is the son of Idris Deby, will arrive to Israel as early as this evening. We're with us in studio, our political affairs and international affairs correspondent, Batya Levinthal. Batya, first of all, a lot of talk about, for example, Israel's relations or attempt to build relations with Sudan. Not so much its more successful efforts with neighboring Chad. But why has this visit been not officially confirmed yet, but it has been reported?
Right, so the visit has been reported, and as you mentioned, it's likely that he is going to be arriving tonight, being Tuesday evening, and set to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday. I think the reason that it's been kept under wraps was not from any kind of other significance or secrecy, other than the fact that they did not want to overshadow U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit. As you've been reporting and as we've mentioned, he's wrapping up his visit here in the Middle East region, a visit that came on the backs of a terror-filled weekend and had so much carrying with it that I don't think that they wanted to put out a statement to alert the public that there was going to be what to them is a little bit of a lesser relations. Again, you've mentioned that there was a peace agreement between the two of them. They restored diplomatic relations. But even before then, we're talking about once they had become cut off in terms of their relations in 1972, there may not have been diplomatic relations and official ones, but there were definitely informal relations going on. We have to remember that Israel was supplying Chad with arms and weapons in order to fight the Islamists in the north, which they're still currently doing, but also to help them during the civil war. So I think it was more a matter of trying to preserve Antony Blinken in all its glory of being here in the Middle East. But again, it's just like Eli Cohen, the foreign minister today, meeting with his Greek counterpart, also kept pretty much under wraps, and no one really knew much about it. Right.
Now, it may be that many people might not be able to locate Chad on a map, but this Saharan desert there, mid-Saharan, if you looked at it on the map, you could understand why this strategically would be a very important country for Israel to have relations with.
You hit the nail on the head. Strategic importance. When you do look at it on a map, it is literally pinpointed in between North Africa and Central Africa. It's surrounded by countries like Sudan, Nigeria, Libya. We're talking about really what they used to call the gold part, or the melting pot, in a sense, of if they could figure out a way to have better relations with Chad, soon the areas around it would follow. Again, we're talking about a country that is a majority Muslim nation. That's now right. That seems to have spread out to being a little bit more majority Muslim by, I think, around 58%, with more of a majority coming up in terms of Christianity. But this is very much an important strategic area for Israel to get involved in terms of the fact that it is a Muslim majority country and where it is located. But from a perspective of trade, it is undoubtedly that Chad is gaining more from this relationship from a matter of not necessarily the actual physical trade of Israel sending over machinery. They just recently in the last year built a brand new huge ICU wing in the capital of N'Djamena, but also the fact that the US is so close to Israel and is such a critical ally that Chad really wants to warm up to Israel in order for that relationship between them and the United States to also kind of solidify and better. Reason being is because it is a country that is so tired in corruption, and it is also one of the most corrupt nations, not even just in Africa but in the world, but also a matter of trying to establish themselves as a nation that really is fighting terrorism and wants to improve its relations with more of the West.
Right, and you have to imagine the warming of ties with Chad impacted on Sudan's decision, its neighbor, perhaps to move that in that direction as well. Batya Levinthal, thank you for that.